I think we all know by now that Toto Wolff isn't a fan of Red Bull's overwhelming success these past 2 seasons. But if for some reason that wasn't clear enough for you, wait till you hear what Toto Wolff had to say about Max Verstappen during the build-up to this weekend's Singapore Grand Prix. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Following an exceptional 2020 season in which the Silver Arrows clearly outperformed their rivals, Lewis Hamilton secured a remarkable 124-point lead over his teammate Valtteri Bottas. He amassed a total of 347 points, thereby matching Michael Schumacher's record for the highest number of world championships. During an interview with Sky Sports, Wolff contended that Formula One had made adjustments to the regulations with the intention of assisting their competitors in narrowing the performance gap. 2020 had been a super dominant year for us, said the Austrian CEO. I think it was the best car we ever had. Then, towards the end of the season, they changed the regulations by cutting the floor, and that was to stop us. The contentious conclusion of the 2021 season in Abu Dhabi continues to be a major factor contributing to Mercedes' loss in the Drivers' Championship. Nevertheless, Wolff maintains that Formula One introduced more extensive regulatory changes with the specific aim of impeding their performance. We lost the 2021 Drivers' Championship for many reasons, he said. One was the final race, but we also lost it because those regulations were set in place in order to reduce the advantage we had. Throughout the 2021 season, Mercedes found themselves in a heated rivalry with Red Bull, and Wolff is of the opinion that alterations to the regulations played a pivotal role in reshaping the competitive dynamics of the sport. We saw the results in 2021. We were not as competitive as Red Bull was, he said. But at Silverstone, we unlocked more potential of the car and we got ourselves back into the championship. These regulations were targeted to reset the pecking order. Since these changes in the regulations, Mercedes has only managed to win 1 race, and with their recent poor outing at Monza, Toto Wolff has arguably grown bitter as the Austrian boss would try and dismiss Verstappen's recent accomplishment of setting the record for the most consecutive wins in a season. At the time, Verstappen would play deaf to Wolff's comments, but that would not be the case during the recent press conference in Singapore, where Verstappen would say, "They had a pretty shit race at Monza, so probably he was still pissed off with their performance. He almost sounds like he's an employee of our team sometimes, but luckily not." Verstappen, currently holding a commanding 145-point lead in the Drivers' Championship, pointed out that when Red Bull was facing challenges in keeping up with Mercedes, they concentrated on improving their own team. He suggested that Wolff should consider a similar approach. "I think it's important that you focus on your own team," Verstappen added. "We do, and that's what we did in the past as well when we were behind them and they were dominating. I think you should be able to appreciate when a team is doing really well, which I think we have done in the past because it worked also as an inspiration to see someone that dominant. It was very impressive at the time. We knew that we had to work harder and try to be better, and now that we are there, and we're very happy and we're enjoying the moment. Honestly, that's all I can say about it." The leader of the championship holds the view that the upcoming Singapore Grand Prix poses the most substantial challenge to his streak of consecutive victories. The street circuit is frequently considered one of the most demanding tracks on the racing calendar, primarily due to the extreme heat and humidity experienced in Singapore. It's worth noting that last year, Verstappen could only secure a 7th-place finish after starting the race from a less favourable grid position. "I think we are not as competitive here as at other tracks," Verstappen said. "The street circuits are a little bit tough for our car. I still think we can do a good job, but it will be very tight." Heading into the Singapore Grand Prix, the FIA has issued a technical directive to all teams, indicating that they will be closely monitoring and, if necessary, penalising the use of flexible wings. This directive has prompted certain teams to make adjustments to their wing designs. This is in reference to the following rule, which states, all aerodynamic components or bodywork influencing the car's aerodynamic performance must be rigidly secured and immobile with respect to their frame of reference. During the Monza event, team boss Christian Horner dismissed any suggestion that Red Bull would be affected by these measures. He said, "It's not something that affects us. We've seen a few rubbery nose boxes, shall we say, so we'll see those get addressed, I guess, in Singapore. Verstappen, echoing the sentiments of his team principal, suggested that Red Bull's performance is expected to remain as robust as ever. We never really had any flexible front wing or whatever, so I don't think it will hurt us, he explained in the FIA press conference on Thursday. Toto Wolff's comments and the possible effects of the flexi-wing clampdown aren't the only controversies Red Bull is carrying into Singapore this weekend. In case you missed it, Red Bull's head of driver development, Helmut Marko, was quoted saying some inappropriate comments towards Sergio Perez this past week. These comments received backlash, which prompted the Red Bull advisor to issue a public apology to Perez and his fans. While Perez has said publicly that he has accepted Marko's apology, as he would say to the media, "I had a one-on-one conversation with him, he apologized. That was the most important thing for me. Now, let's put that behind us. Knowing Helmut, like I say, I have a personal relationship with him. I know he doesn't mean it that way. And I personally didn't get offended at all. Whatever he or I say in the media is different than what we discuss in person. We have a good relationship." Mercedes star driver Lewis Hamilton has weighed in on the situation and said, "It's completely unacceptable what he, Marko, said. And whilst we say there's no room for any type of discrimination within this sport, to have leaders and people in this position making comments like that is not good for us moving forwards. I think it just highlights firstly the work that still needs to be done. There are a lot of people in the background that really are trying to combat these sorts of things, but it's hard to maneuver if there are people at the top that have those sorts of mindsets that just stop us from progressing. I'm not surprised, to be honest." In that same interview, Hamilton expressed his belief that Red Bull has not taken sufficient steps to hold Helmut Marko accountable or to publicly disprove of his remarks, thereby distancing the team from his views. While Marko has publicly apologized for his comments and privately to Perez, Hamilton clearly feels that these actions do not fully address the issue of accountability. When questioned about his surprise at the absence of any statement from Red Bull, F1 or the FIA regarding this issue, Hamilton responded, "This is not something that you just apologize for and it's all okay. I think there needs to be more done. I think teams, when they've had individuals, particularly drivers, make comments, they usually are removed, or at least they put out a quote and say they don't support that sort of thing. So it is interesting that they haven't done so for this one. But it's not my team, and it's not how we move as a team. It just shows how important it is that we continue to do the work that I'm trying to do with my team and with the sport. We still have a lot of work to do moving forwards to make sure that this is a more inclusive environment." So what do you make out of all of this? Is Toto proving that he's just bitter at Red Bull's glory? Did Perez accept Marko's apology too easily? Let us know in the comment section below. And consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't.